Okay, types of assessment. In this session, we are going to analyze the different types of tasks or exercises we can use to assess our students. Remember that we have mentioned we can be assessing our students constantly through observation and also taking into account every single exercise or the practice we consider it might be taken into account. That would be, depending on the level, can be the controlled evaluation, which is going to be very useful in very basic levels, semi-controlled, or free. Okay, so today we are going to check and analyze if the different exercises and activities we carry in the classroom can be taken into account for evaluation, okay? And we are going to analyze some kinds of exercises to identify, to be able of identifying exactly what skill or sub-skill they are developing and of course, assessing, okay? All right. First, we are going to think about the activate schema, about all the vocabulary, the words and expressions, the jargon we associate with evaluation, okay? And I'm going to ask you if you can to participate. Entonces, here in the Jamboard, I have the word assessment and I have different post-its. So what I want you to do, if you can get into the Jamboard, is to write a word or an idea that you associate with assessment, okay? Entonces I'm going to share with you the link in the chat so you can log in and write if you want one or two ideas related to assessment. If you cannot because you are in the car or you are somewhere else, let me know and I can help you by writing your ideas on the post-its. Okay, a ver, profe. Tell me something that you... Pero no me escriba, profe, si está driving, no me escriba. Abra su micro. No queremos accidentes. A ver, tell me, profe Guillermo, one word, if you want to participate, that you associate with assessment.
Evaluation.
Evaluation, very good. Excellent, teacher. Evaluation. Excellent. Ahí está la primera. Another idea.
Summative.
Summative. Excellent. Okay, we have two. Think.
Feedback.
Oh, excellent. Feedback, very important. Next, rubrics. Okay, Miss Jessie. Next module, we are going to practice providing feedback. Excellent. Okay. I'm going to help you with that, with one, and it's a word that we shouldn't, well, no, I don't like it. Exam. What would be the difference between an exam and an evaluation? Because we grew with the idea that having an exam, pues it was to give you a number, no? And to say if you know or if you don't know, no? But on reality, pues it's a kind of evaluation, no? It's a kind of assessment. But we need to change a little bit that idea, no? And starting or beginning from the teacher, no? That saying that or thinking that probably this evaluation or exam is not in order to judge the person. It's like a blood test. The example I have given you from module number 1. You go to the doctor, it takes a sample of blood, it's analyzed in the lab, and they tell you exactly what you need. If you need vitamins, if you need penicillin, or if you need a surgery, you can detect exactly what the problem is. The same is going to happen with this exam or evaluation or assessment, is to know how well you manage certain information. And yes, of course, we need to memorize. Memory work is very, very important because otherwise these neural connections are not going to be, no, they are not going to be done. We need to practice and exercise that muscle too, no? But more than having the knowledge and be able to memorize, what we are looking for in an assessment or in an exam or in an evaluation is to have a general panorama of, in this case, English, of how our students are doing, how competent they are. Entonces I would add the word competence. This word, pero was así super el boom. Bueno, like 10 or 15 or 20 years ago, something like that. No, así, the newest method for teaching long time ago, por ahí del 2014, 2011, something like that, was competences. And what is a competence? Do you remember what a competence is? I remember even that at the beginning when teachers started to hear competence, some of us were thinking about competition, no? And I think that is the, well, I don't know if I'm right or wrong. You tell me if you know. But now the CEP is going to disappear this concept of competence, because I think they understand by competence competition between students. By competences is because we are going to see who is best than the rest. Or who is better than others. Who is the best of all and who deserves the best position in a company or something like that. But in this case, a competence, to make a competence or to make your students competent, you need to have 3 elements. I mentioned those elements in module, I don't know if module 1 and 2. I think we have mentioned that.
It's like a skill?
It's like a skill, but you have a skills. One of the ingredients is a skill, but we have 2 others. Is to have knowledge. How do I assess the knowledge? By using an exam or an evaluation. O sea, yes, no. You know the verbs, you don't know the verbs. You know the formula for present perfect or you don't know it. You know the difference between past continuous and simple past or you don't know it. You know when the independence was, or who was Porfirio Díaz, or who was Benito Juárez, or who was, no sé, Gandhi. You know it or you don't know it. And it's essential. It's part of a competence. Another element I need is aptitude. That my students, that this means that my students know how to use and manage this knowledge. Let's compare the students with a mechanic, or an electrician. You give them all the tools they need, all the materials they need to repair something, no? For example, the mechanic is going to repair a car, and you give them all the tools that even in Spanish, I don't know their names, no? Ahí que la no sé, de la llave y la no sé qué, I don't know the words. Imagine that you have all the materials that you need to repair así perfectly the car. The tools are the knowledge. We can compare, or we can, yes, compare the knowledge as the tools. Or a carpenter, they have the hammer, the nails, the screw, the ¿qué más? The saw. They have all the tools, and they are going to make or repair the car or make a table in the case of the carpenter. But if they don't know how to use them, although they have the newest and the most advanced technology for repairing the car or making the table, pues they don't know. And they need the attitude. These 3 elements are necessary to make a competence.
Teacher, another example would be like speaking in public.
Speaking in public. A ver, teacher. Esa a mí me falla mucho. Y me dice que sí. No, sí, me pongo muy nerviosa. Ok. ¿Esa qué sería? Knowledge, aptitude, or attitude?
Well, you have the knowledge. Most students are shy. And you have the aptitude, but you don't have the attitude, maybe.
Exactly. Because if you have the knowledge and the aptitude, and you say, no, es que no, 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 y apago mi cámara,
Yeah.
o sea, it doesn't work. But if you have the knowledge, the aptitude, although it is no así 100% así super high, but you have the attitude and you try to do your best.
Yes.
So you are competent. That is the meaning of competence. And if you realize the competences are used in every single activity in the world. Let's go back to the mechanic. You have the knowledge, no? You know how a machine or the motor or the engine of a car works, no? And you know all the pieces, how they should be connected, etc., etc. Because you have this knowledge, you have had this practice. You know how to do it, because I can have the theory here, but if I don't know how to use these tools, pues ya forget it, no? And if I don't have the correct attitude, in this case, what would be the best attitude for the mechanic? Pues responsibility, no sé, compromise, service, maybe empathy. Because if it is something easy to do, and I know, or even it is difficult, but I know that my client or my customer needs the car very, very quickly. Ay, no, patroncito, se la tengo por ahí en 15 días. And it's only adjusting something in order to earn more money, or I don't know, you are not having the correct attitude. Or as teacher Robert said, speaking in public, I know about my subject, no? A speaker who is going to talk about whales. Because he has studied biology, he has studied all the characteristics and the needs and all the things related to whales. He knows how to manage this knowledge, how to propose new ideas and propose action plans in order to help them and save them, and has the attitude. He wants to do something. Entonces, we should develop these three in our students. And knowledge is related to exam and evaluation. And the exam and the evaluation are summative. To evaluate these aptitudes and attitudes, I'm going to use the rubrics. And who can tell me a very practical and easy form to make rubrics for my classes?
Through the aims?
Exactly. If I have very clear my objectives, I'm setting standards for my students, if they achieve it or not. And in these rubrics, I can include knowledge, aptitude, and attitude. Este es el beautiful example of the teacher. In here, in this activity, I have the resume of these three elements. Okay, very good. Remember that we said that we have two types of assessment. One that is formal and the other one that is informal, okay? Do you remember the difference between formal and informal exams or evaluations? Formal and informal. Remember that formal is when I'm planning very, very well an evaluation or an exam. Is when you say, chicos, you are going to have your final test next Monday. So please, no study. That's another topic, no? That we ask students to study and we believe that studying for an exam is trying to memorize and catch all the information we didn't catch throughout the course. ¿No? Y memorizing. No, es que me voy a poner a estudiar desde ahorita because it's too much. It shouldn't happen. Because if we establish very clear standards, every single class, per activity, and per week, as we saw the last session, it's just like a revision. Because they already know it. Or I can change the type of the formal exam. Instead of having a series of exercises, I can ask them to develop something. What do you think is more useful for students? To have a 10 in the exam by answering complete the sentences, conjugate the verbs, circle the correct answer, or maybe give a presentation to practice how to speak in public. Thinking about your students, what is more useful, which is richest, more nutritious?
Giving a presentation in public.
Exactly. Because in here, I'm putting into practice all these three things. In the real world, they are not going to tell you, pues, like the typical joke, ¿no? Do you know English? Yes. A ver, ¿cómo se dice mesa? Those jokes, no, that we see in TikTok. If we just practice or focused on grammar, on the theory. For example, in English, where at the end of the module, you have an exam, no? You include at the end of this module, you have a written exam. What you can do is to use those chunks or several chunks of that exam at the end of each lesson. If you have 5 grammar exercises, and in here is present simple, present continuous, y no sé qué más. Bueno, when I teach at the end of the week, when I was teaching present simple, I evaluate by using the question for present simple, and I'm solving little by little my exam, and also I'm checking the progress of my students. And at the end, I have the evaluation complete. They don't really need to sit up or sit down and be answering all the exercises one by one to show or demonstrate that they know. and being conscious about the other skills of the language, because probably my student is not very good at grammar, no? Or he commits a lot of sleeps. But my student is fluent and has self-confidence. He has that ability of involving the interlocutor into the conversation. In this case, he has the aptitude, and maybe he needs to work on the knowledge. So I know that I need to keep on working this part, but normally our students are only evaluated in here and not in the rest. Mhm. So for formal evaluation, I have standardized exams, certificates, and objective evaluation. Standardized means that they need to fulfill or accomplish the goals, the aims, or the standards set for a specific level. For example, my book says that is A1. That means that at the end of the book, my students will be A1. They are pre-A1, that's the super basics. And when they finish this book, they are going to be A1. That is a standard. Obviously, there are going to be students who will be and who won't be, okay? Certificates. Cambridge, Trinity, TOEFL, all those certifications set standards, no? Normally for TOEFL, the minimum required is 550. To more or less demonstrate that you have a good level of English in order to take classes in a native speaker context. Is the standard, is the minimum required generally for a certain group of students. And objective are the exams. Correct, incorrect, yes, no, true, false, aprobado, reprobado. The exams for example, for the admission tests for the children for high school or university, those are standardized evaluation. And these kind of exams are objective. For example, the TKT Module 2 test is a standardized certification, which is objective, because you know or you don't know. You are able to manage or you don't know able to manage specific situations and make proper decisions or identify aspects in a lesson plan, okay? In the case of the module 2, okay? So that is formal evaluation. Informal happens when the students assess themselves by using those rubrics. They are able to evaluate themselves and decide based on the criteria if they are capable or if they are not, and what they need to achieve, ahora sí que the standard, ¿no? Or to fulfill the rubric. This one is very important, but also is very difficult for students because we are not used to evaluating ourselves, to checking ourselves. We always receive the feedback from the teacher. The teacher is the authority and is the one who decides yes, no, tú sí, tú no, you did it, you didn't do it. And in this case, if we allow and we permit, and if we teach our students to evaluate themselves, pues they are going to be able to be responsible of their learning process. They are going to be autonomous, and also they are going to be involved. They will feel the responsibility they have. Normally we say, la maestra me reprobó. Me reprobó. We don't say, pues es que reprobé porque pues, la neta no entregué. O no hice nada. No es me reprobó. Ay, pasé. ¿No? Like in the football. Ganamos, perdieron. And it's cultural. And in here, we are also developing aptitudes and attitudes because they are going to recognize the areas of opportunity they have. They have a reflexive attitude to recognize exactly what I need to do, what did I wrong, replan, ahora sí que replan the plan, and put hands in action. Ask for help if needed. And it's a good opportunity to ask for clarification. Teacher, can you explain to me? Es que this part was not very, very clear. And it's the moment where when you are, or when you are going to give feedback. You decide if you are going to give the feedback individually or if you are going to give it in groups, depending on the number of students and the characteristics of your group. And normally subjective evaluation is informal. No, bueno, not always, because subjective can be evaluating speaking and writing. What is the difference between objective and subjective evaluation? Do you remember? What is subjective, or what kind of exams or evaluations are subjective?
I believe that in subjective, the answers may vary.
Okay. It's only for writing tests?
No, also for speaking.
Okay. For example, when you are evaluating speaking, teacher, is your criteria the same than other teachers?
It is supposed to be according to rubrics, but it's not always the same.
Exactly, because you have other kind of experience and preparation, no? It's not like saying that you, or saying that the rest of the teachers are not good. But we have personal experiences, and according to what we have lived and where we have worked, pues we have been deciding what is best for our students, no?
Yes.
So, for example, in is the same way you or the same criteria you use for evaluating writing than the rest of your team or co-workers?
No, we have different criteria for evaluating.
Exactly. So that is subjective. The evaluation is held under the criteria each teacher has. For example, teacher, in your case, what aspects do you consider are very important at the moment of evaluating writing?
Grammar, that would be
Mhm.
one. Spelling. Organizing ideas and paragraphs also.
Okay. Okay. And for instance, if I tell you that in my case, I grade grammar, range of vocabulary and spelling, the correct layout, and that they fulfill the requirements in the questions, would you agree with me, or you would say, no, my standards are different?
No, I would agree. And I would also try to learn from you all the different aspects or different things that you do that I do not do.
Exactly. So we can, I can say, pues the aspect you take into account is very useful, because I have noticed that my students are not organizing very well their ideas, no? And I can take it into account as part of the layout, no?
Yes.
Exactly. Okay. So can you see the difference between objective and subjective evaluation? And I mean, we know we are experts. We are teachers. That's why we are in front of a group. But sometimes we are losing like the vision of other aspects. And for us, it's very hard when we are evaluating. These subjective evaluations are related to speaking and writing mainly. So as well as as I have been repeating over and over, set clear standards, check what skills, what for each skill, what sub-skills you are going to take into account in this evaluation. And for you, it's going to be clear, and for your students too. So you will know exactly what to look for in this piece of writing. If you decide, if you are teaching, for example, the layout of a formal letter, spotting the difference between formal and informal letters, maybe today, just for today, the evaluation, it's about the layout, that they have the date, the the information, the correct opening, the body, the correct salutation, also the proper salutation in the end. That they don't say XO, XO, licenciado, quién sabe qué, XO, XO, pues no. Although they speak wrongly, or although they write wrongly some sentences, although they are misspelling words, if they are fulfilling each one of the aspects in the letter, it's going to be okay. Because today my objective is recognizing or identifying and including these elements in a formal letter. In my objective, it's not stated that they are going to write correctly a business letter. Because first I need to work on the format. Maybe as a final assessment, I'm going to ask them, bueno, ya, we have already practiced the salutations, we have been working with these expressions, etc., etc. Now, you are going to gather all the information you have, and you are going to write a formal letter for Mr. Brown, and these are the aspects I'm going to take into account. Grammar, which is accuracy, grammar, vocabulary and spelling, use of correct expressions and salutations, and layout. Entonces, they have their checklist and they know how to write it, but my objective is different than just recognizing the elements in a formal letter. So this objective can be formal by, as teacher Jessie said, by using the rubrics. Okay. Here I have some types of evaluation activities that I can have in my classroom for evaluating. I have observing learners in the classroom, making homework, formal testing, remember exams and quizzes, informal testing, exercises, the observation in the class, participation only, If I say, este ya le cachó, híjole, muy bien. And I take it into account. Asking students about their likes and dislikes. These are different activities I can have in my class to assess or to evaluate. Let's discuss what could be the pros and the cons. What do you think is the pro and con of observing my learners in the classroom? Remember, while I'm observing, I'm making notes, and then I provide the feedback.
Well, I would say that con could be that it might not be. I mean, if you have a group of a large number of students, it might be. It requires more time than in a small group. So maybe if that activity was planned to be like just for 10 minutes, or you observing 10 minutes, and now it's gonna be 30 minutes because you have 40 students and it's like 1 minute per each. So maybe that could be like a con.
Okay, excellent, teacher. What's your name, teacher?
I'm Susan.
La Miss Susan. Okay, Miss Susan.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, me encantó. Probably that would be a problem. Because imagine that I come to your classroom and I tell you, ¿saben qué? You are going to observe your students and you are going to make a report, no? The first question would be, what am I going to observe? ¿No? Pues ya los vi, están re feos, todos. O todos están bien guapos. Son mis niños. Ujú. Son mis muchachos. Yo los quiero mucho. ¿No? What I'm going to observe. If I have again my objective, very, very clear, I can spot quickly different things. Remember that I always recommend to have your post-its or your notebook. For me, post-its are very practical because I can have a post-it per student. So what do you think in your level, the aspects or in what moment of your class you can observe your students and what may be useful for you to evaluate? What would you observe in your students? For example, if they are carrying out a speaking activity, and I monitor the activity, what are the aspects I can just imagine that you have your class, no? I don't remember or I cannot picture right now your classrooms and how do you have the 40 students, probably in rows, no? Me imagino a big classroom with 4 rows of 10 people, no? How can you observe your students during a speaking activity?
Well, I assign activities in like groups, like 3 people, and they have a chat about a specific topic or questions that we were working with. You know, like if we were learning about the past progressive, and I already explained the grammar, they did exercises, and now it's like the free practice. They are ask each other questions with that, and they answer. But I have to observe that they use the grammar properly. Well, not properly, in the correct order, but also that they don't speak Spanish, because since they are a lot of students, they take advantage of that, and they think that I don't listen to them, but I do because I'm there, and they tend to speak Spanish. So that's what I observed, that they use vocabulary and grammar, and that they are actually speak in
what they are
English.
speaking about, and they are carrying out with the activity, ¿no? Porque, ay, a ver, ¿qué trajiste de lunch? Y no, ¿qué quiso aquí? Y el maestro de matemáticas, quién sabe qué, quién sabe cuánto, and they start, talking about other things.
Yes.
Yes, Miss Alma. Yes, don't worry. Yes, exactly. Sí, pues pasa, ya está. Uno lo hace, ¿a poco no? Cuando uno es maestro. También, ¿no?
Yeah, tell them that
Okay.
it's okay to gossip about any topic that they want if they finish the activity, but in English. I said, you can gossip, that's fine, but in English, you know.
Exactly. Entonces, in here, for example, can be teamwork or pairs. So we need to monitor in order to spot mistakes, grammatical mistakes, if they are using correctly the vocabulary, they are using L2, if they are fluent, if they are fulfilling the task. What else can I observe? Interaction.
Fluency. Oh, I'm sorry, it's already there.
Yes. So if I share the objective, in this activity, we are going to do this and we are going to do that. We deliver the instructions, no? Discuss or observe the pictures and decide on the best activity to be done in the city. No, I'm inventing. This is my my instruction, okay, from the book. And I tell my students, okay, Pedrito, can you read the instructions? See, observe the pictures and decide on the best activity to be done in the city. Okay, perfect. Muy bien. What we are going to check is the vocabulary, because maybe we analyze vocabulary of outdoor activities. Task, use of L2. This is the evaluation, guys, okay? Entonces be careful. This is what I'm going to take into account for this activity, okay? So you have 10 minutes. Yeah, begin or start. And I can play some music, soft music. And I start monitoring it. Team 1, or in my notebook. I divide. Team 1, pues, Team 2, no, Team 3. And you give them the enough period of time. Although the activity may seem very simple and that it can be done in a short period of time, you give them a few more minutes, so you can have enough time to at least listen once each team. And you make your notes, okay? And then how would you check and give feedback in this activity? A ver, Miss Susan, después, how do you provide the feedback?
Well, after I give the instructions and I monitor the students, then after monitoring, like what I do is like I go with each of the teams. I listen, I observe, I sometimes make corrections on the pronunciation. Or sometimes the students are like, how do you say, how do you say? And then I try to help them with some of the words. And then like I give like another round of me going to each of the teams, and I tell them, I ask them like, okay, and what do you guys talk about? So they just tell me why they listen from their classmates.
Okay. For example, then we can check the opinions as an assembly, no? And then we exchange points of view. Imagine that your task was this one, no? Obviously, each team is going to spot a different activity, maybe. And they need to back up or justify the activity they chose. To say why, no? So they continue speaking. What do you think? And you continue with these backup questions. Why do you think? Why? Do you agree or disagree? No, excellent. And then when you finish the activity, you write the mistakes you could spot on the board. If it is pronunciation, even you can divide the board. Pronunciation. A ver, guys, listen. In pronunciation, I spotted this. How do you pronounce this word? No sé. collected or collected? Ah, collected. Okay, very good. Entonces, you are providing the general feedback.
Mhm.
Yes. And you have your individual notes. Even you can prepare in advance the teams, because also making teams, it's time consuming. So you can
Yes.
prepare the teams in advance and prepare your page. You know that in team number 1 va a estar, no sé, like this. Ahorita le abrí y me sale así. Pedrito, Juanito, Chuchito y Merenganito. Okay, entonces when I'm observing, I'm making notes on the individual post-its. And I have in my notebook, I have all my post-its like this. So I can provide the feedback and I can write the number. Just at the end of the day, pues I pass my notes from the post-its to my list. And
Mhm.
I already have the grades. But that's I think that it's a good idea, no? The
Yes.
thing is that we need to provide enough time for students and also for us, así como que plan con maña, to give us time and opportunity to observe, no? All right, excellent, Miss. Marking homework. What are the pros and cons that taking into account marking homework? Do you take into account the homework for evaluation? It would be formal or informal evaluation. Should it be taken into account? Or it's just time filler? Para que no digan que no dejo tarea. What is the aim of homework?
For the students to be able to answer or do the activity by themselves.
So why is it useful for the teacher? Because when you are checking the homework, is extra practice, no? Individual practice.
Yes.
Entonces, when I'm observing, when I'm receiving or checking the answers with my students, for me, it's a kind of what method? There is a method. It's a sort of test, teach, test, no?
Oh, okay.
Yes, they do the test at home, no? The exercise. Normally, you leave for homework extra exercises, no? The workbook or something like that. Well, no, I don't know. Because normally we don't have enough time for that extra practice. In this case, we can use this homework as adaptation for flipped classroom. Do you know what flipped classroom is? Teachers, have you ever heard about flipped classroom? No? Flipped classroom is involving or having activities that were originally thought to be done in the classroom, but students do it at home, or they prepare their material, or they prepare something at home that is going to be used in the classroom. It is one of the new methods that was that were used during the synchronic and asynchronic kinds of teaching. Mhm. Remember that some of the schools attended face-to-face classes 2 or 3 days a week, and the rest of the days were online. So not all the activities could be done at home, but neither in the classroom. Entonces I'm combining the activities in that way, okay? Entonces, for example, if I'm going to use this homework as part of evaluation, I consider it that is part of test, teach, test. The students solve an activity at home. We check. We provide feedback. And test again. Puede ser por homework otra vez. Can be vocabulary, can be grammar. Also can be a reading. So if you do this flipped classroom, for example, for a reading, not necessarily homework, but if you are going to talk about, no sé, the Nat Geo, ya ven que at the end you needed to make a project of a video of 100 seconds, something like that, no? I don't remember quite well the topic of your video. The video they watched at the beginning. But for example, if that video is on the platform and students have access to that video, they should watch it before at home in order to have more time to do the rest of the activities that I need to guide in the classroom. Entonces, the flipped activity can be watch the video, make some notes, because we are going to answer some questions about the video in the classroom tomorrow morning, okay? Entonces they have that task, that is their homework, and you are not wasting time, bueno, wasting between quotations, or you are having more time for other kind of activities. So it can be very helpful to have these flipped classroom activities in some cases, okay? Entonces the homework, yes, can be a kind of test to check if students are understanding or if they are not. And if it's some remedial work needs to be done, okay? So it's a standard. What is the disadvantage? Normally what happens with the homework? What is the main problem with the homework?
They don't do it.
Exactly. Because sometimes we believe, bueno, no, we believe. Okay, I don't understand those people. I understand the people who say that I know they shouldn't give homework to children. In Finland, they don't have homework, no? But they have different processes and they have another culture, no? And sometimes we are used to the kind of homeworks from primary, ¿no? Así de que haz la maqueta de no sé qué y pues without any purpose, ¿no? But if they see that not doing the homework has consequences in the development of the following class, they are going to be more responsible. If we need to explain and share the objectives with them. A ver, chicos, you need to watch this video. If you don't watch the video, you are not going to be able to do this, and this is part of your evaluation. Ya cuando les dices evaluation, ya como que la piensan un poquito. ¿No? And little by little, little by little, it's not easy to make the habit. It's an habit. The first week, reinforcement second week, confirmation third week. If you are constant with this kind of work, or if you start just once a week and you make them conscious about the importance of homework and that homework is going to be part of the evaluation, they are going to do it. Formal testing, pros and cons, the exams. Así, traditional exams, the typical exams. Normally, what happens with students in the exams? They don't study. ¿No? Ay, que tenemos examen. Híjole, no estudié. Because again, we are teaching 6 months in one exam. We are testing 2 months in just one exam, and it's a lot of information. And if they are not constantly practicing the grammar, the vocabulary, etc., pues what you don't use is easily forgotten, no? Entonces that's why I need to be constantly recycling and reusing, using over and over the structures, the tenses, the vocabulary, the expressions, etc. For me, the advantages is that the teacher is free to decide when to do the exams. Can be a very simple and very short exam, and I can do it per lesson, per week, every 15 days, etc. Okay? In here, the advantage is that I can use the book or resources from the book, and you don't need to invent anything. Or even resources, online resources, which are very easily graded. The disadvantage is that maybe students feel nervous, frustrated, and insecure. Because they didn't have enough practice. Mhm. We were just passing and passing and passing and passing the topics, and they don't have very well understood the grammatical structure or the vocabulary or whatever they are learning. And literally they are refeeding their brain and vomiting what they memorized a night before. So in this case, it's not long-term memory. It's just short-term memory. And this one is easily forgotten. Entonces, we should analyze, a ver, what I'm promoting. What is the reason? What is the objective? Mhm. Why do you give exams to your students? As part of my TTT practice. Not only to give them a number. They are not they are not working for a number. It seems, but they are not. And if they are every single day, they are collecting a number, is fair. Imagine that I am a very good student. And I always participate. I always bring my homework. I'm the best student in the class. But my father, in the morning, on my way to university, my father crashed and I was really nervous. And my first class is the English exam. And I'm very scared, I'm shaking, but I need to finish my exam because it's the end of the term. Do you consider that it's fair for me to evaluate the full semester with just that exam, or with all the little pieces I collected throughout the course? And for us, it's less workload because we are working little by little every single week. So at the end of the semester or the period, I only need to make an average, and it's that can be easily done in Excel. And yeah, I have my grades because it's part of my routine in the classroom. Informal testing, pues observing the students, no? Having my rubrics, having very clear in mind what I'm going to observe, and letting students know what I'm observing so they do their best during the development of these activities. Indeed, this is the pro. The cons, pues maybe informal. You see here, observing and listening to students. And here, pues the rubrics, but as we said, the rubrics are the aims. Entonces, pues, I think that there's no problem. Maybe here is backing up with your supervisors or coordinators to back up the way why you are using informal testing. Bueno, pues you can back up by saying that you are observing and showing your very clear and concrete objectives, okay? In here, for example, in an activity, asking students about their likes and dislikes is an oral activity. First, if I ask them about their likes and dislikes, is controlled, semi-controlled, or free? In this case, asking or questioning students is free practice. Mhm. Because they are free to say whatever they want. In here, the evaluation can be informal, but also formal, because it's speaking. If I have very clear my aim, I have my rubrics, I have my standards, I provide feedback, and finally I can change the subjective into objective with a number. Ujú. Entonces, pues I can see more advantages in this kind of activities for assessing and evaluating students than just using an exam. And also for us, it's easier because we don't have to grade a huge amount of papers, okay? And spend the whole weekend grading and grading y luego pasando. Ay, no es un show. Ujú. Comments about evaluation? Questions? No? Nothing?
No,
Not yet.
thank you. All clear.
Okay, excellent. All right. Entonces, let's see. Let's take a 10 minutes break. We are going to start with material, and then we are going to continue with the mock test, okay? So tomorrow we can have time for clarifying questions, making the mock, and start with these demos of methods and approaches. And I'm going to give you the instructions for the lesson plan we are going to develop. I'm going to upload in Classroom all the list of topics we need to cover in module 1, 2, and 3, because I checked on the invitation you received and the topics are not correct. Entonces I'm going to give you the correct ones, okay? So I'll see you in 10 minutes.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's hurry up with the topic of supplementary materials. I just wanted to show you, this is another way I used to manage the observation in my classes. The last school year I was teaching in primary. So I had a folder per group. So in here I have the different subjects I was working with my students. And things that I was observing. Yes, in here I posted and I pasted them. So anything I could back up, no? And I also had my notebook. And I also included notes here. And my lesson plan and some observations of the students. So mainly my way of working with them was observing. So it's very, very useful. And for me, it was not so hard to upload grades. I needed to upload grades every week. So it's easier to just to have a number. And in your case, you don't have so many subjects, no? I had more than, híjole, like 15 or something like that. O sea, they were a lot. But in your case, I guess you can divide your grades in reading, listening, writing, speaking, and grammar, and that's it. So that may be easier. And if you have a folder for each group, well, you are not going to carry loads of notebooks. It's just a folder for every group. And when you start your class, you take your folder and it's easier to carry, okay? So now we are going to talk about supplementary materials, okay? So the objective, the objective is to demonstrate knowledge of referent resources for different situations. Make recommendations on tried and used reference resources, okay? All right, entonces, we are going to know how to use different materials in different situations when it is introducing something, practicing something, giving feedback, doing some remedial work, when it is evaluation, etc., etc. Sometimes even can happen that we can plan an activity just for practice. And if we see that the students did very well and that exercise could be taken into account as part of their evaluation, is valid, okay? We can do it and we must do it, okay? So now, what other resources do you use in your classes? Apart from the book, the workbook, for example, in English Aware, you have the platform, no? In there you have the audios, the exams, los readings, los listenings. You have games, and I don't know what else. You have the opportunity also to have a sort of classroom. So you upload materials and so on. But in the case of Nat Geo, what do you have? What other resources do you have in your platform?
I think they are the same.
They are the same, videos and so on.
We have a platform.
Okay, okay. And how often do you use the platform with your students?
Well, I leave those activities for homework, so we can work doubts or presentations during the class, but the platform is by their own. I mean, like homework.
Okay, and for example, in the case of this platform, the activities are graded by the platform or you need to go and check?
No, they are graded by the platform.
Okay, so yeah, very easy. All right.
Yes.
How easy or difficult is it for you to have access to different resources? Because we have, I see, pues yo tengo la platform. My platform is very nice, very useful. I have a lot of things, pero I don't have internet in the school. Entonces, pues I don't have access to this resource. Is it easy or difficult for you?
We have internet, however, it sometimes we don't have the Wi-Fi I don't know if there's some, if the signal breaks or I don't know what happens. But also the thing is that we don't have projector in some classrooms, so it's a little bit hard.
Okay, so you need to adapt, no?
Yes.
And be
Yes.
very, very creative, no? Okay, what
Yes.
problems do you face when you want to use extra resources? O sea, we know that we have these difficulties when using the resources I already have and which I provided by the present house or the institution. But what about if I want to use something extra? What problems do you face when you want to use this extra?
Well, the main problem is time.
Okay, time. Mhm.
And of course, the resources of internet. But fortunately, after the pandemic, we had the opportunity to have Wi-Fi internet connection more stable.
Mhm.
But the thing is, sometimes the time is not enough.
Okay, so time again, internet. What about the money?
Oh, yes. Yeah, if I want to hand some like a workbook or something like that, or sheets to work with them, well, I have to print them or I have to take photocopies. And sometimes, well, they don't have enough money to pay for those photocopies or
Yes.
the resources. So it's only a workbook and the computer is mine. The speakers are mine. And so I have a big backpack to carry all those
And
materials.
also that's a problem, no?
Yes.
To carry all those things, ¿no? Que luego hacen los memes, así de las maletotas que cargamos las teachers. No, I remember when I used to go to school and my mother used to, y necesitas cargar todo eso because it was my lunchbox, my backpack, pero la bolsa y la escuincla y la lonchera de la escuincla y la mochila. No, bueno, era así como una mudanza every single day, ¿no? Because unfortunately, we don't have, although it is public or private, we have limitations.
Yes.
And sometimes we have more limitations in private schools than in public schools. O sea, it's incredible that parents are paying for the materials and etc. And we have more limitations in private sector than in the public sector.
Wow.
It's amazing. I can see it. No, if I needed to give them something extra, of course, when in the last school I was working, I needed to program the photocopies when they on the day they asked us to ask for the material. But if because of something I forgot, como siempre, I forgot things, pues I needed to pay for the photocopies. Or if I wanted, no sé, to bring something, no sé, realia or something like that, pues I used to, I needed to pay for them, ¿no? Entonces, yes, little by little, you are spending money and, bueno, you do it because you love your students. But in the end, pues it's extra money that sometimes we don't have, no? All right.
Yes.
When we think about extra resources, what do you think of? It's only photocopies?
No, I think in applications or free content in internet.
Okay. Apps, content, etc. Do you use flashcards, posters, and things like that?
Yes.
Okay. And
Yes,
they are yours, or they are you need to ask them or to borrow them from the school.
they are mine.
They're mine
Entonces,
too.
entonces it's an extra expense, no?
Yes.
All right. And those materials for teachers are not really cheap. No, probably it's an
The pretty
investment.
ones, no.
The what? The printed
The
ones?
pretty ones, the cute
No.
ones, no.
Ah, no. No. But it's an investment you do because you can reuse the flashcards over and over. No? Okay. So your teacher's book is a resource. Do you have teacher's book?
Yes.
Okay.
No.
I think in the why no?
The editorial didn't provide it to us because we were in pandemic and they didn't provide it.
What book are you using, teacher?
Richmond.
Richmond. Ah, okay. So, well, but you cannot like have the teacher's book online or something like that?
Well, we asked for it, but they never provided it. So I only focus on the student's book, which I have in digital, and that's where I focus.
Okay, so that's another problem, that sometimes we have the incomplete material, no?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Okay. If you have your teacher's book, at the end you may have some photocopiable material, no? And in the teacher's book you have the suggested activities to carry out with your students, no? To deal with the activities proposed in the book. But do you consider that these suggestions are enough, and these 3 or 4 photocopies that you have as an extra in your teacher's book is enough to make a very nice and complete lesson plan? Or sometimes you need to, yes, to leaf over your teacher's book, but in the end you say, híjole, no, es que no, this is very challenging. The way it is proposed in the teacher's guide is really high for my students, or I don't have enough information. I just have the answers. Not always the teacher's book is everything. We have experience, we have other materials that can be used in order to enrich. And as I said before, the books are made for general groups, and we need to observe the characteristics of the work we are working with and spot the needs, the strengths, and to know exactly where they are in the level and where I need to take them, or well, not necessarily where I need to take them, where I will to take them, because probably I'm going to be very ambitious, or the program or the book is ambitious, but unfortunately, the characteristics of the book are not appropriate and they don't help a lot in order to accomplish the level. So I can do, or I need to do what I can with the material I have, okay? These are some materials I can use in my classroom. Okay. Some other resources I can include to give some variety to the kind of activities I propose to my students, okay? So I'm going to give you 1 minute to go over the 2 columns, and we are going to match the words in order to make ideas, okay? For example, bilingual or monolingual what? Builder, materials, activity center, dictionary, script, book, links, unit, chart.
Dictionary.
Can be bilingual or monolingual dictionary. Learning. Is a place.
Center.
Center.
Exactly, okay. Vocabulary.
Can it be
Build.
activities?
Oh, okay, but in this case it's builder. Vocabulary builder, okay. Luego grammar. Ahora sí, teacher.
Activities, okay.
Exactly, teachers.
Book.
Book.
Reference.
Materials.
Phonemic.
Chart.
Chart. Course book.
Unit.
Very good. Internet.
Links.
Links, okay. And listening.
Script.
So all these elements are not included in a teacher's book. And from these elements, I can develop other skills. Sometimes the teacher's book are very limited in the task, in the proposals. Or sometimes the activities are planned. Es que, for example, when you are writing, when I write books, for example, I picture in my mind a specific group with the characteristics of students I have had. No, sometimes, although they give me a standard, I picture a certain group of students with specific characteristics. And then the editor helps me to decide if these kind of activities are homogeneous or they are especially done for a specific group of people, no? And that's the way authors normally work. And sometimes, because of the experience of the editor, the experience of the author, the person who revises technically the pedagogically the book and so on, pues we have different backgrounds and we will have different points of view. So we need to agree as a team how we are going to propose in the best way each activity. And it happens in Richmond, in Majestic, in Macmillan, all the pressing houses work like that. But nobody knows best the necessity of your students than you. Entonces, sometimes the activities, the kind of activities proposed in the workbook are very limited. Or can be culturally inappropriate. Or sometimes they don't fit exactly the kind of interests or necessities our students have. Maybe they don't capture the different levels of students I may have, and they don't propose exactly the kind of activities in order to make this scaffolding in the classroom, no? So by having these kind of extra materials, I can have this diversity. So I need to be open to use more things than just the teacher's guide, okay? From these ones, which one would you use or do you use? For example, nowadays, using a physical dictionary, pues it's a science, it's not very easy. Well, at least for me, it's not easy to deal with a dictionary. They need to know, for example, if it is a bilingual dictionary, they need to know what part corresponds to Spanish, what part corresponds to English, and how to look for things. Sometimes they tell me, ay, es que aquí nada más viene en español, sí, darling, pero sí, if you go to the middle and you check from the middle to the back of the book, you have English. No? Since those very simple things for sixth graders who are 12, 13 years old, no, 12 years old, yes, 12, 13, using these dictionaries is así como, wow, pues I didn't know, because everything is online. So they just Google and they find the words. And they don't use the online dictionaries. O sea, they use Google Translator, and sometimes that Google Translator is not very accurate, and they just give you the direct translation. But what about the context? So they need to know how to use these different characteristics and recognize them in an online dictionary or a physical dictionary, okay? Do you use, for example, do you use internet? Do you use grammar books or things like that in your classes? Other grammar books like grammar reference books?
No, not me.
No? Okay. Can be useful for us teachers to know exactly what we are going to teach. But what about if I tell you that you can give them up, or you can project the grammar explanation, and they can analyze and make this kind of deductive work and come up in their own words with the formula and the use of a specific grammatical structure just by analyzing the explanation. Can be a very difficult and challenging form, ¿no? The phonemic, pues ese sí, definitely, I think we don't. And now we realized, apart from being part of our preparation for module 1, pues we have noticed and now we have learned about the importance of showing them and teaching them these phonemic charts, okay? The scripts, do you use the scripts with your students? How can you use the scripts?
Like an activity to fill in the blanks depending on what they listen to.
Okay. Can be. Do you ask them to read in advance the script before they listen?
No, I always just like read instructions, getting like I tell them a little context of the listening or the audio, and then we play the audio when listen to it.
O sea, the
But-
typical form.
Yes,
La
I
tradicional.
never show them the scripts.
Okay. For example, what we can do, no, bueno, se me ocurre in this moment, is that we can, I can ask them to go or read the script individually and circle the words that they don't know how to pronounce. And then I play the audio, they listen to the accurate pronunciation, and then we practice it, no? So as a pre-listening, we can do that. Practice the unknown vocabulary, for about pronunciation, and then do the test, no? So it's trying to think about other uses, not always the same, pan con cajeta o pan con Nutella, no? It's bread with something else. And although it's Nutella, pero si le pones nuez, pues ya te sabe distinto, ¿no? O sea, we are using the listening, but not in the traditional way. We are doing it in a different form, okay? For example, in here, and in here, I'm going to give you some examples, okay? I have class tests, testing, publication, internet materials, okay? Practicing lexis or vocabulary, pues I have vocabulary games. Kahoot has a lot of vocabulary games. And in the platform of Majestic, you have these vocabulary games online, no? Finding out about different methodologies. For example, this is a resource for teachers, teacher development publication. You have thousands of articles and books and sites where you can be reading about the new methodologies used in the schools and how the traditional ones have been changing school year by school year. Analyzing complex grammar and structures, grammar books, and language analysis publications, for example. In this case, déjenme cerrarle aquí. For practice and analysis, espérenme. You can have the presentation, the practice, and the production in a different way, depending on the level. For example, for very basic students. No me voy a acordar de la contraseña. No, ya no me van a dejar entrar. Are learning paths. So you can look for ahí está. In here, for example, you can look for, I don't know, language arts. You have, no sé, vocabulary, simple past, prefix, suffix, games, past continuous, etc. No? I like this because it's like a video game. So your students have the path and you start here, no? You click. And then you go, or your students go to the following activity. It was for my primary group. And this is about compost. Entonces, they start advancing in the level in each activity, and they need to do something. Es que necesito estar como teacher. And they have a lots of materials. Bueno, aquí no sé por qué no me deja verlo. Ya se me olvidó cómo picotearle, pero the students start passing or solving each activity until they finish the activity. And you can check as the teacher. You immediately the platform gives you the result. This is for gamification. Remember that gamification not only or it doesn't mean video games. Can also be playing lottery, memory, those analog kind of games, okay? This is one idea for grammar. Designing teaching materials. You can make your own crosswords or puzzles, and you have a certain number of free downloads, but what I do is to take a screenshot and then I paste it in a Word or a PowerPoint, and then I print it. But I can create my own material online. Then checking meaning, pues the dictionaries, no? We have seen the advantages of using this dictionary. You have the the pronunciation for American and British English, and you have all the contexts in which the word can be used. So students avoid using wrongly the word by looking for the word in the Google translator. Checking parts of a speech. I'm going to give you this material. This material is yours, okay? But no este. I'm going to upload it later. But I'm going to give you a copy of this PDF. This book is very old. O sea, I have been using it for more than 20 years. And in here, the nice part is that you have the explanation of the grammar. This is for basics. And then you have exercises. So you have all the tenses, bueno, most of the tenses, ¿no? And fíjense, es del 2007. The first edition was in 1990. Okay, so you have present, past, present perfect, passive verb forms, future, modal verbs, there and eat, auxiliary verbs, questions, reported speech, ing to, get, to, do, go, get, do, make, and have, pronouns and possessives, articles, determiners, adjectives and adverbs, word order, conjunctions, prepositions, phrasal verbs, and appendixes. Okay, so I'm going to give you a copy of this book. What else do you have? Also, dictionary, bueno, the dictionary. Ay. Luego, clarifying sounds. Again, in the dictionary, you have the phonemic symbols, and you have the pronunciation.
International.
International.
So you are clarifying the correct pronunciation. Luego, or the clarifying sounds, improving writing. These frameworks, this is a talk from Cambridge University about writing. I'm going to give you the link and a framework to assess writing. Okay, it's an article. It's for primary and secondary or junior high, but it's interesting because we, instead of thinking about the age, we can talk about the level. No, some of our basic students have this level. So if you just leave over the paper, you can also have more ideas about what to evaluate in your students, and maybe use these rubrics or modify them and adapt them to the necessities you have. Okay, developing reading skills. I showed you this in module 1, which is this one, Fluency Tutor. In this case, you choose the reading. It tells you the Lexile level, the number of words that is according to the level. I have the level of difficulty. You have a dictionary. I don't want them to translate. And I have a picture dictionary and a dictionary, okay? In here, I have two options. They can read individually. If you realize that students are very shy or you don't have much time or you want to assess, for example, speaking with more time, more consciously, okay. So ask them to read out loud, because remember that reading out loud is not reading, it's a speaking activity, okay? Because they need to pronounce, be fluent, having the correct intonation, etc. So those elements correspond to speaking. So they can read first on their own and then compare with the reading from the platform. Entonces vamos a poner a Tom.
People everywhere enjoy going to the movies. They like watching the show on the big screen. They also like eating popcorn with their friends and family. New film invention.
So they first read in silence, listen to the recording, and then individually at home, what they can do is record. So they record their voice. People everywhere enjoy going to the movies. They like watching the show on the big screen. They also like eating popcorn with their friends and family. Because it is in classroom, I send it to my teacher. Or I can download People everywhere enjoy going to the movies. They like watching the show on the big screen. They also like eating popcorn with their friends and family. Or I can download the audio and send it by email. I like this one because it's for shy students, or to make it an extra activity for speaking and reading, because they also have there are some exercises that have reading comprehension exercises. This one not, but there are some that have some questions. Entonces, pues they complete it, okay? Motivation with different websites. I don't know, maybe this Kami pues is different using this platform than using Acrobat Reader. No, they have more tools. Or these deck toys, or using Nearpod, or using Edmodo that I know you use, or other kind of websites. No, also you can gamify. I don't remember the platform. I found it a little bit difficult to use it, but you can create your lessons as if you were situated in a video game. Entonces they create their avatar, they have the different scenarios, different worlds, and according to the tasks you give them and how they solve them, they start passing the worlds. Let me investigate the number, or the name of the platform. I also gave you, and you have in Classroom, you have how to use Flipgrid. Again, for speaking. They can record their voices. You give them the question in here, they open their camera and their microphone, they record the video, and they can add backgrounds, stickers, and so on. And when they finish, the work is uploaded here. Ujú. Déjenme ver si subí algo. No. Okay. Ajá. But because it's in the classroom, pues you receive the video here. Ajá. Like in this case. Mhm. So there are thousands of platforms. There is another one. My bookie. This one, they make their own avatar. And they can change the face and everything, así como en ¿cómo se llama? Ay, la del teléfono, ¿cómo se llama? ¿Cómo se llama? Ay, ¿cómo se llama? Bitmoji, como en Bitmoji, ajá, you can change the background and they record their voices, so they can record what they are saying, o sea, the answer of their question. You give them the task, they record, and the avatar speaks, and I think you can save the video.
Hola. Hi, my name is Dana.
Ah, bueno. Okay, qué tristeza. Ujú. And they can practice and they can play with it. Okay, so it's very entertaining and it's another form to have a speaking activity. Okay. Let me-
Hi, my name is Dana.
They can upload, they can record their voices and reproduce it in the classroom. So I can help speaking, listening, and reading in different forms with different materials, with different platforms. I use these ones because I really like using technology. When I know or I find a new platform, I start playing and clicking on everything. And I have used some of these more supplementary material. So these are the resources I can use. Now, the supplementary material is giving this extra. As the teacher said, es que the photocopies, but sometimes the students cannot afford, or I don't want to afford the fee for the photocopies because in the school, they don't give us the enough photocopies. Evaluate if on reality, the extra photocopy is necessary. If you use the exercises in your book as part of evaluation, maybe you will reduce the number of photocopies you are using. You can also upload or send the photocopies to your students and just ask them to visualize the PDF and write the answers. So in that case, apart from saving money, we are saving paper and we are saving trees. Entonces, to be more ecological, we can have a file in Classroom or in Drive, especially for that group, and be uploading and just visualizing. But this supplementary material should be really with a very clear and specific objective. Use first the material you have in your book. If you see that is very challenging or it is lower for the level of the students, ask them to do something else by using the same exercise. For example, if they have a fill in the blanks exercise, but the level of your students is very high, they fill in the blanks, they choose one sentence, and based on that sentence, they can write a short paragraph or divide the students in teams, give them one sentence, and they need to create a story or a paragraph by including all the sentences in a coherent way to make a paragraph, no? Something, it's just an idea, but try to invent something that if the level of the activity is very low, try to increase it. Try to scaffold the activity. If the activity is very challenging, you can, for example, if it says fill in the blanks, you can give them the options or draw the answers mixed on the board and ask them to choose the correct answer. No, but try not to spend more money, more resources in something that in reality can be done without spending your money. How I'm going to evaluate the supplementary material? The supplementary materials are the extra I'm going to give. If it motivates the students, if it is attractive, if it is fun, it's not pan con lo mismo. If in my book says un fill in the blanks and the photocopy I'm going to give is un fill in the blanks, pues como que no mucho caso. Affordable, reusable, durable, give good language practice, help develop learners' confidence, actively involve learners, add variety of tasks and content to the lessons. If they did a fill in the gaps, probably a unscramble or a reading or something like that. Help develop communication skills. Always try to use this material in order to produce something. Develop good learning skills. Help activate, recycle previous learned language. Fit well with the syllabus. Come with good teaching notes. Contain good methodological ideas. Easy to organize with large classes. Help indicate how well students are doing and what they need more practice in, okay? So essentially for evaluation, with a clear purpose. If we have a clear purpose, we have evaluation, okay? So these are some of the characteristics for supplementary materials: visuals, handouts, posters, videos, platforms, games, cards, board games, books, whatever. We need to check first if they accomplish with these characteristics and have very, very clear what the purpose is. If if they are going to give my students something, or probably I'm going to sidetrack, okay? Probably they are very good for verbs, no? The flashcards, so the cards for practicing verbs, to making a game, part of the routine at the beginning of the class, a 5 minutes game with the cards, no? A dynamic, I can invent something. So can be very motivating, can change the mood of the students, can prepare them for the class, etc., etc. Some examples of supplementary material, pues los cards o los flashcards o cutouts, este per deck que ya lo vimos. This one. This is a reader. Probably this is going to be very useful for you. In here is a online library. So, a ver, in here I have famous bridges. I have a historical discussion about famous bridge collapse. I'm sorry. I have the description of the book. Let me turn off my camera so it runs faster. And you have the reading. This is for university and so on. So you have the text. And I don't know why it looks like this, but in some cases, you have the, vamos a ver, Olympics. I have the Olympics, economics, health, education, technology, etc. for a conversation. Bueno, I'm going to talk about how for future, I'm going to talk about, or we are going to read how sports be in Tokyo 2021. Also, pues eso ya fue. ¿De dónde es la? From UK, but I don't know why it has the E. So they read, and then you can, as a trigger for discussion. Okay, it's good to explore it. Luego, for the handouts, not always, not, you don't need necessarily the photocopy. No sé, vamos a ver este. Grammar training. Verbs with gerunds and infinitives. Entonces, they finish and automatically they give you the, ay, ¿dónde está? Es que está trabajando. Gira. They give you the number. So they take a screenshot and you can link it to your classroom. Entonces, photocopies, pues not really needed. Then, for example, this milk carton city, I know a teacher from Chetumal and she gave me that idea. When she's checking or when she's teaching, giving directions and prepositions of place, she asks the students to make, by using these milk cartons, to make a building or a shop. So they prepare the material, they do it on their own, and they set a small CD on the floor of the classroom. And what she does is to ask the students to go to the city and give each other directions to get from one point to another point in the mini city. Entonces it's very dynamic, it's different. They are practicing speaking, listening, they are interacting, and they are moving. So it's very, very kinesthetic. And it's very creative, and they are involved because they are constructing their own city, no? So not necessarily the material needs to come from the teacher. It can also come from the students. Another teacher from another tecnológico told me about using puppets in the classroom. It's very also therapeutical because they can have dialogues, and it's not the person who is speaking, is the puppet, no? And they can invent stories, narrate anecdotes or whatever in a very funny way, and it's going to be memorable. So not always the puppets are for children, they can also be used for adults. Pseudo-realia. Bueno, in here I put these veggies. But, no sé, if you are going to teach clothes, instead of carrying así 2 large suitcases with real clothes, you can have dolls' clothes. So they are easier to carry, and you can reuse it. Or these vegetables and fruits for me are very practical when teaching vocabulary. Or for example, well, in my case, because I have a daughter and she has given me all her toys. But for example, the doll house for the rooms of the house, no? And it is very attractive for students. Not only, believe me that I teach adults, and believe me that sometimes when I have asked them to bring crayons and paper to the classroom and to draw and do something, I see very, very creative, they enjoy it because it's part of a therapy. It's something that they haven't done for recently. And it's connecting with emotions and sensations. You can ask them to listen and draw, or to do something else, to play, just to play. We also have these resources online. For example, the dice or this spin wheel. Tiki, 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 y ya. For, no sé, un tic-tac-toe o no sé qué. So there are thousands and thousands and thousands of things. Aquí está el spin wheel. No, esto no es. Quién sabe qué era, pero es un spin wheel, así como pero es spin wheel. You write the names, or you write the questions. You click, it spins around and it stops, and you can make the question. No, so you can make it more creative and more attractive. Okay. All right. Questions about the materials and the supplementary materials, and how to choose them, how to decide, how to select these materials in your classroom? No? And well, to notice that we have more available things in order to, as I said, to do the same, but in a different presentation. No? maybe more attractive or amazing for the students, so it's going to be more memorable. And if it doesn't work, don't worry. You can try other things until you find the correct activity for your students. Okay? All right. A ver, let's practice. You have to do for homework page 16. ¿Qué tenemos page 16? Or what was the one that you needed to do for homework? Oh, there was no homework.
I think it was 6 and 8. Let me just confirm. 7 and 8.
7 and 8. Ah, sí, aquí está. 7 and 8. 7. Okay. This is about assessment. Ah, pero que les había dicho que assessment no, que era 8 and 9, ¿no? Bueno, ya vamos a hacer. Okay, 7 and 8. Dice, match the ways of assessing with the main focuses of assessment listed A to H, okay? We need to write, to choose the correct letter. We have use of proofreading skills, ability to read intensively, knowledge of layout of a written text, ability to write fluently, awareness to register of a text, use of turn-taking skills, ability to infer attitude from the text, knowledge of functional language, okay? So 28, what did you write for letter 28? It says, ask students to find 5 new collocations in a leaflet about London.
I wrote B.
B, ability to read intensively. For specific information. Very good. Now, ask students to fill in the gaps in the leaflet about London with the correct adjective taken from pairs of formal and informal adjectives. With the correct, o sea, they need to fill in the gaps with the correct adjective taken from pairs of formal and informal. O sea, they are going to decide if they are going to choose the formal or the informal.
I wrote down E. I'm not sure.
Awareness of register of a text. Because remember that register is if it is formal or informal. Very good. Ask students how they think the people who wrote different emails feel about London. Who wrote feel about. Is letter G, ability to infer attitude from a text. Attitude, different, how they feel, okay? Give students a list of features such as pictures, headings, and maps, and ask them to note down which features they would find in a leaflet about London. Give students a list of features such as pictures, headings, and maps, okay? Y luego ask them to note down which features they would find in a leaflet about London. O sea, they have the
Is-
list and
is
they
it D?
compare. Which one?
D, as in dog.
No. Do you remember my example of the informal and formal letter?
Yes.
What is different? In the formal letter, the business letter, they need the date, the salutation, luego el body, luego el closing y luego no sé qué, ¿no? That I said, I'm not going to focus on the grammatical structures of vocabulary, just recognition of the layout.
Layout, letter C.
Exactly. Knowledge of the layout of a written test. The layout is the format. Entonces, en un leaflet, I have pictures, I have headings, and I have maps. Yes? Give students an email about London and ask them to write the corrections for any spelling mistakes. They need to read and check the corrections or the mistakes, spot the mistakes. What they are doing. Ay, me falta la A. If the students write the corrections for spelling mistakes, they are making proofreading, no? They are identifying the mistakes. Put the students who like different kinds of films in pairs. Ask them to discuss and compare their taste tests in films.
Letter F.
Use turn-taking skills. Your time, my time. Ask students to write down 5 ways of inviting someone on a trip to London.
Letter H.
H, knowledge of functional language. Yes. In this case, what is the function or the intention? Make an invitation. Function equals to use equals to intention. Okay. Entonces, we said 7 and 8. For questions 35 to 40, read the stages of a listening lesson about places on the following page and fill in the missing stages from the options A to F. Okay, entonces, I have my lesson plan. The teacher writes trees, businessman, car, houses, fields, farmer, office, etc. on the word gap. The teacher conducts feedback and corrects learners' pronunciation. Learners look at the picture of the countryside and a picture of the city and label the pictures using the words they have learned. Entonces, this is the presentation, ¿no? Luego, gap. Learners look at 4 short descriptions of places and decide which 2 texts match the pictures they have labeled. Learners check the answers with their partner. then share their answers in open class. Gap. Learners check their answers in pairs, then share their answers in open class. Learners listen for detail to a recording of people giving their opinion of the two different places and fill in detail information in a table. Learners check the answers in pairs and then share their answers in open class. The teacher explains that the focus of the lesson will now change from places to countries. The teacher writes Australia and Argentina on the board and elicits information about them from learners. Gap. Learners check their answers from recording. Half of the class listened to the recording about Australia and the other half listened to a recording about Argentina. Gap. In pairs, learners decide which country they would like to visit. Gap. Learners display their work around the room. Okay? Learners look, I'm going to, because it's very, very long, I'm going to give you the answer and we are going to analyze why, okay? Entonces, for 35, it says that is letter F. Tenemos, the teacher writes trees, businessmen, cars, houses, fields, farmers, office, etc. on the board. Y luego dice, the teacher conducts feedback and corrects learners' pronunciation. It says F. In pairs, learners decide which words are connected with the countryside and which are connected with the city. Countryside, trees, houses, fields, farmer, city, businessmen, cars, office, etc. Luego, teacher gives feedback on the pronunciation. Learners look at the picture of the countryside and a picture of the city. Ah, es que aquí tienen countryside y aquí tienen la city. And label the pictures using the words they have learned. Entonces, this activity is the leading, ¿no? Luego, the presentation of the vocabulary, okay? The 36 is letter C. Learners check their answers with their partner. Then the teacher conducts whole class feedback to prepare for a reading. Entonces, they look at the picture y they label the pictures. Luego, check their answers with a partner. A ver si lo pusieron, si lo levelaron bien. Y luego, the teacher conducts the whole class feedback to prepare for a reading. Luego, la siguiente. Learners look at 4 descriptions and decide which two texts match the pictures they labeled. Learners check their answers with their partner. Then share the answers in open class. Learners check their answers in pairs and then in open class. 37 is letter D. Learners listen for a gist, to a recording of people giving their opinion of the two different places and decide which place are being described. Ujú. Entonces, check. Los que ya levelearon, luego check with their luego they listen and because of the general idea, decide what place is being described. They check their answers and they in pairs and as a whole group. Listen for detail to the reading, check answers, explain that they are going to talk about places to, they are going to change from places to countries. They do the same, writes Australia and Argentina, elicits information about them from the learners. And check their answers from the recordings. Hay un recording. Entonces, 38 is letter A. Learners look at a list of statements about the two countries and then try to decide if the statements are true or false. Elicits information. Look at the list of statements about the two countries porque la teacher elicitó. And try to decide if the statements are true or false. Okay. Learners check their answers from recordings. Half of the class listens to a recording about Australia and the other one about Argentina. They decide which country they would like to visit. So is 30. 39 is letter B. Learners find a partner from the other group and they help each other to complete a worksheet with information about countries. Luego, in pairs, learners decide which country they would like to visit, y luego learners display their work around the room. So is 40 is letter E. Learners make a poster advertising the place they have chosen. Okay. Right. In here, you have to read a lot. Entonces, my recommendation is, because you are free to move your paper and highlight and do whatever you want with it, maybe check what kind of exercises are faster and easier for you. Take the time. For me, the most important thing is the time, because they tell you that when the time is over, you are not allowed to write anything else. Entonces, administration of time is really, really important. Entonces, focus first on the ones that are easy for you, and then go back to the ones that are more difficult, the ones that have more text, like in this case, okay? So you can deal with the time correctly, and you will have plenty of time to concentrate and be looking. In this case, if you want, you can write the answers on your answer sheet. Don't write the answers on the booklet. So in that case, you will have more time. Otherwise, they will take the answer key and the answer key is going to be in blank. Okay, entonces, as you read the questions in the answer sheet, you have a sample of an answer sheet here. if for tomorrow you want to use the answer sheet, you can. You can print it, okay? Aquí está, sample. Aquí está. It's the same, 80 questions, okay? So we have 7, 8, and 9. ¿Qué hora es? Híjole, ya son las 12. Tenemos 10, 11, and 12. Do you think you can do it for homework? Tomorrow we check and clarify any questions. And tomorrow we are going to have the mock test. At the same time, I'm going to give you the mock. I'm going to take the time. I'm going to give you 80 minutes to solve, o sea, the real time for solving the test. And then we are going to see what part is the most difficult. Why? So I can tell you what to do, if it is a strategy or if it is knowledge. Okay? Yes?
Yes, teacher.
All right. Difficult, easy, or more or less? Yo digo que more or less.
So.
Yes, more or less.
Okay, excellent. Entonces, try to do 10, 11, and 12. At least if you cannot, if you don't have plenty of time, check them. We answer them together tomorrow, or we check them together. We make a fast revision. I give you the requirements or the things I need you to start preparing your lesson plan. El lesson plan no es para mañana ni para la próxima semana, ¿eh? Mañana les voy a dar fechas para que no se preocupen ni se estresen. ¿Ok? Perfecto. ¿Dudas?
No.
Perfecto. Perfecto.